Alrighty, welcome back everybody. So today we are picking up where we left off in our previous video, where we designed the basic layout for an e-commerce product card. So what we will do today is to complete the card design and then add a button, which is our call to action feature on the card itself, and which will also eventually become part of our responsive landing page layout. And we are going to test the responsiveness of the card itself. So let's dive right in. And the first thing we will do today is to build a button. So there are several ways that we can build a button. We can definitely start by adding a basic shape. Let's say we start with a rectangle, we add some text in the middle, and then eventually we can cut out the corners, add some radius to it in a way that the button will look something like this. However, in order for us to be able to make the button responsive as well, this is how we can do it. So let us select text. Let's say we write add to cart, and then we can also try to add an icon to it. Let's say we add this icon here. I will show you later how and where I found this icon, because there's a massive community that we can explore for different icons, typography, colors, and different layouts. Okay, so we will put this text. We are going to wrap this into a single line. Then select the text and the image, right click, bring them into a frame, and click auto layout. Okay, perfect. Now as we can see in the auto layout components that it is bottom left aligned. We are going to make this middle left aligned. There we go. Looks more easily visible now. Let us keep the vertical the horizontal padding to 20. Perfect. Okay, what we will do now is to select the frame, and we are going to add a fill. Let us select a different color to make it more easily palatable. Okay, let's select this. And now what happens is that the text and the icon are actually almost virtually invisible against the dark background. We can solve this by selecting the text and making the text white, which would be much better contrast for the icon as well as for the text. There we go. Now, although we do have an action button here, it still does not look very user-friendly, as there's virtually no margin on either side of the button. So we can add some padding to it. So we are going to select the button on the frame itself, go to the auto layout properties, and then add some padding. Let's say for horizontal padding we add 20. Okay, that looks fairly good. And for vertical we add 10. Perfect. There we go. I think that looks fairly easy to use now. And this button, if we zoom in a little bit, as you can see that this button looks fairly sharp and kind of jarring for the eye. So we can solve this by selecting the frame once again, going to the frame properties on the top right, and then adding a corner radius. Let's add 10. Okay, that looks fairly good. Now we are going to add this button, which is now complete, into our original frame. Let's put it here. Well, it'll actually go at the bottom. There we go. Perfect. So now we have the entire layout of a card. And if we want to, we could also add another feature where we can allow the user to add multiple items, multiple products to the cart. And we will definitely look into that right now. Let us see how this card looks like when it is completed. So we have an auto layout here, all the text and the description and the call to action button. We are going to select the image frame, the auto layout frame, bring them all into a single frame, then auto layout on the right. Perfect. So we now have the entire card ready. So there is some housekeeping we need to do on this card before we can call it complete. The first thing we will do to understand where our borders lie of the on the card, we are going to select the entire frame, the entire card, and we are going to go to the right and fill it in. Okay, that looks good. However, just like we modified the button to make it more easily visible and more easily actionable, we are going to perform the same action on the entire card itself. So once again, with the frame selected, which means that we have our entire card selected, we are going to come to the right and add some padding. So let's say for horizontal padding, we could add 20. And for the vertical padding, we could add 20 as well. Okay, that looks fairly good. All right, so now we have successfully completed building a card. Sure, we do have some housekeeping to do, but that is how we can have our basic layout, our auto layouts, everything integrated into a very basic layout. And eventually, I will show you once we proceed along the future videos, how we can create further iterations of this card. One iteration could be where the banner fills the entire top half of the card itself. But right now, what we are going to do is to test the responsiveness of the card itself. Now, let's select the banner, and we are going to go to the right to the properties of the frame, and it's set to fixed. We are going to change that and make it fill container. So that essentially means that the frame has filled the container but not the image itself. So we are going to do that for the image now. We are going to drag it in, and where you see that little orange cross right there, that means that the image is now filling the entire frame. Perfect. Now we are going to do the same for the text. So we are selecting this auto layout. We are going to select microphone, which means that it is inside this dotted line and it's inside the frame, so we are going to make it fill as well. So we changed fixed to fill container, and for the description as well, we change it from fixed to fill container. Whoa, now that is our card taking shape. So the reason that our entire card frame has shrunk is because our card is essentially treating the text and the auto layout as the master frame, and it's actually reacting to the master frame's constraint as the parent. So let's finish doing this. Here we are going to select the price, fill container, the ratings to fill container, and the button to fill container. Awesome. So now that we have this completed, also a small touch here, we selected the add to cart text and also made it fill container. Okay, what we do now is to select this frame, we'll select the image frame, and then drag the image all the way in here. Okay, perfect. What we do now is to test the responsiveness of this frame. See, there's basically nothing happening because there are still a couple of constraints we need to change. So we will go back to this auto layout, select the entire auto layout, and this is why it actually changed before. So the constraints are set to hug. We will set it to fill container. And there we go. We will also change the image. We are going to select the frame. Then we are going to right click and bring back the image. We're going to select Unsplash, Technology, and we are going to bring that same microphone image in here. Perfect. Now we have the card almost ready to go. We are going to test it once more. Okay, so as you can see that the banner is definitely responsive, but the text itself is not. So let's go back to the different text layers. So the microphone is set to fill. This text is also set to fill. So is the price and the ratings and the add to cart. Let's make the cart button middle aligned. Perfect. And set it to medium. Now, for the cards, one thing we need to change is to go to the frame properties on the right. Let's say we select the text because this is the only auto layout that's still unresponsive, and we are going to select each individual layer. And as you can see here that the vertical resizing is set to fixed. We change that to fill container, and the same for the description, same for the price, and for the reviews, and for the cart. Actually, for the cart, let's keep it at a fixed height because the cart, the action button does not really need to change. Okay, now let's see what happens. There we go. So now that our text is also responding to how we are changing the shape or how we are changing the constraints of the card itself. And this is the exact same thing that will be reflected when we drag the entire landing page or the entire website template to various device sizes. Okay then, now that we have our basic card layout completed, we will just add a couple more final touches to it. Let's increase the padding a little bit horizontally, vertically. Okay, that looks like a little more friendly. We're going to drag this a little more to the left. Okay, that's good. We are going to discuss in our upcoming videos how we can make sure that the margin stays uniform throughout, and the text, just like the description here, does not interfere with or penetrate the margins on either side. So that's for a later discussion. For right now, we are going to select the frame, go to the corner radius, make it, let's say, 10. No, let's add some more. Let's make it 20. Okay, excellent. So now we have a frame. We are going to select the frame again and then go to the right navigation bar, scroll to the bottom, and there we have an option that says Effects. So clicking on Effects by default pops up a drop shadow, which is added to the entire card. So this actually makes sure that against any background, your card will essentially stand out because there is a shadow which embosses the entire frame against the background. And congratulations! Now you know how to design a basic card layout for an e-commerce site. And in our next video, we will see how we can create a carousel for multiple products to add to an e-commerce website. Stay tuned.